First thing I want to say is that I'm not getting notifications from YouTube. Unless I actually go on the video and look for comments, I don't actually see them. So if you've got a pressing comment you want answering, I'll give you my email address. It's tim.wells@hotmail.co.uk. I always answer constructive messages, and I'd like to get the notifications from YouTube, but I'm not getting them. So please, if you've got a pressing question or comment, just email me. So I'm just going to give you a quick tour around Laughton on Morthern. We're not actually in Laughton on Morthern. I couldn't understand why Laughton had got two churches. We're actually at St John's Church, and it's not actually Laughton Church. This actually belongs to Thropeham, and it was actually part of Thropeham Manor. If you look down there, you have to walk about half a mile down there, and you'll actually come to Thropeham Manor. So why they built a church so far away from Thropeham Manor, well, I do know the answer, I think. And just by the side of the church is actually a pagan well. I'll just stop the camera a minute and I'll just pop down to the pagan well. So I'm right by the side of St John's Church, and just here under this actual grate is the pagan well. And if you lift it up, and I'll probably do that one day, you'll actually see where the pagan well was. So what they've done is they've built the churches next to existing pagan sites. So they've got the congregation already here, and then they brainwashed them with Christianity. Sorry if you're a Christian, but I don't fall for it. I think it's pagan Christianity. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you here, right by the door, this grave. Under here you'll see it says J4. I can't read the full thing, but there you can see it. There, sorry, I can see it now. It says J740. That's the gravestone. It's the gravestone of a child, 7 weeks, and for some reason, rather than saying 1740, it says J740, so I am mystified by that. Dora Vernon thinks that, and this is her theory on it, and I could probably go with that, it was only 740. Not 1740 when this person died, and what they've done is they've added 1,000 years onto our timeline, so the year 2000 was really only the year 1000. But at the end of the day, they invented this thing to say Jesus died 2,000 years ago, so all the dates are sort of irrelevant anyway. It's just man-made. So what I'll do is I'll pop further up into Laughton on Morthern and give you something up here, but this church is only open once a year when they have a service in it, and to me it's quite a spooky church, this one, but I don't feel anything bad about it. I've actually been in here and got the key one day, so and been in on my own, but I didn't feel any closer to God in it, so I feel closer to God by the side of a river. So I'm going to go further up into Laughton on Morthern anyway. So I'm now at the old Methodist Chapel. For a long time it was actually pear tree pottery, and Roy Newman used to have his pottery here, but I think originally it was the old Methodist Chapel because that's what it says on it, and I'm going to assume it's just not somebody putting that on the building. But Roy Newman was a local historian in Dinnington. He knew everything, but Roy's now dead, but I'm sure his memory lives on. So I thought I'd just show you the old Methodist church, which is in between two Church of England churches. So we're now at what is, or was once, the old St Leger pub, and I've been in there on a Friday night. I can't understand why it shut down, because it was always busy, but I think I know the reason. They probably wanted to sell it off and make a lot of money, but that's short-term gaminism. but also they want to shut down the meeting points where people meet in the community, where people talk, rather than being brainwashed by the actual propaganda on the TV. People could actually have an open discussion. So it's called the St Ledger because if you go down there past the actual old Methodist church, it'll take you down to Furbeck, and at Furbeck they ran this original St Ledger race. That was between Furbeck and Letwell, and I have actually got a video on the actual site. I can actually show you where that is. So I'll move on now a bit further up to the old rectory. In fact I won't, I'll stop off at another pub on the way that's closed as well. So I'm now at the Outfield Arms Pub, or what was once the Outfield Arms Pub. And Hatfields was a famous family around here who owned a lot of land and farmed the land, or they didn't physically farm the land because they'd be paying the peasants peanuts to farm the land for them. One bit there was some sort of planning permission on here, I think, to knock it down and turn it into shops and flats on top, but I'm guessing a feeling that there was a reaction against that. I really can't understand why the Outfield Arms can't be a going concern if it's serving food during the day and a few drinks at night. So hopefully at some stage this pub will reopen. So it's a real shame because I think the population of Laughton on Morthern is 300 probably at the moment. It's probably the highest population it's ever had, and there's no facilities left here. At the crossroads we just come past, there used to be a post office, there were lots of quite a few shops here, co-op and various other things, but there's absolutely nothing now, which is a real shame that, you know, it's the highest population it's ever had and there's absolutely nothing here. It's a dead village. It's full of what I call townies. They come in here and they go and sleep here and then they go and work in towns. And anyway, I'll move on to the next site in Laughton on Morthern. So I'm now up at Old Farm. It's still a going concern, still farms, or it's got animals anyway. So we've lost so many farms around here and it's a real shame. Wanston, where I grew up, there was about 10 farms when I was growing up. There's no farms left there. Same with Dinnington as well. So we lost so many farms around here. We've got more people living in the UK than ever, and we lost so many farms, which is something not quite right about that. So I'll move up to the next bit, but it's really nice to still see a farm that's still making it. So I'm now at the location where there used to be a rectory, and I can't find any pictures on it. I'm sure there are some, and I think it had an earthen roof on it. But what I find really interesting is this gateway here. I mean, if you look at that, there's a hand holding a flower, and I'd be really interested if anybody knows what that actually represents. But there's some quite a bit of things on here. I mean, like you can see, there's circular things here. What this all means, I don't know, but I love this sort of thing. What I'll do is move up to All Saints Church next. That's really interesting. The guy's just come across to speak to me, and on the other side of this actual doorway there's actually a stone, and it says 1742 PAX. So does anybody know what 1742 PAX stands for? It's actually a private garden behind there, but he took me behind it just to show it me. So, but it looks quite a new stone, but it does say 1742 PAX. So I'll move on to the next thing, which will be the church. The chap mentioned this as well, and this is a well. There's quite a few wells around here. My name's Wells as well, so there's another well. But if I can do this, I don't know if it'll work. If I zoom down, you should be able to see the water right at the bottom of the well. See the reflection of the tree, and that's the water right at the bottom of the well. So I'll just zoom back up. So I'm just going to move around the corner, but there's so much history around here. I've only just briefly stopped at each place, and that was a shop at one bit. I think that's probably dating back quite a long time, that one. It's not just mock Tudor on the side of the building. So I'm now at Laughton All Saints Church. It's quite a large church, this. I mean, the village now is about 300, and I think it's the most that the population's ever been. And you look at the size of this church, it's more like a small cathedral. Once you actually get inside, you won't believe how actual big the church is. Have to be a bit careful here because cars are flying by. Just noticing at the moment up there, seeing them coming through like that. I don't know if that's a genuine contrail from a plane or it's a chemtrail, but I've been noticing that, and I'm going to say that's a chemtrail rather than a contrail. Well, let's get back down to earth, but it is quite a beautiful church, this. You can see it from all around the countryside. It's not the ideal time to actually video it. Some people say these are energy generating centres. But around the back of this church there's a castle built by the Normans. That's what history says anyway. So I'll just take you around the back and show you the mound for the Mott and Bailey Castle. Just outside the church, I've just noticed this. Well, I've noticed it in past, but I've just remembered it's here. So this is a water pump. I'm told in the old farm down there, the old Manor House farm, there's actually a proper well in there as well. Somebody said they'd seen it as a little girl. But just here, that plinth looks like where somebody can actually speak from outside the church, and that's why I'm guessing that probably people could gather in a crowd outside here and somebody could do a talk to them. So I'm going to go down the side of the church now and show the mound to the Mott and Bailey Castle. In fact, before I show you the Mott and Bailey Castle, I'll just give you a different angle on the church. So I'm on the side of the church, where I can't really see any awful gargoyles on this church. I've actually been up the tower, stood on the top, and there's an old fable saying that people can see the sea from here on a good day. Well, you can't. What you can see is, you can see Scunthorpe, you can see the river where the blast furnaces are. So some people have thought that's a sea, and it wasn't. It was the river. I think it may be the Don or whatever running through Scunthorpe. But I've just snippeted history in Laughton on the Morthern. There's just so much history and I don't know half of it. I wish Roy Newman was still around to tell me some of it. I don't know how clear this comes out on camera, but I'm looking through somebody's garden, and just there is where the alleged mound was for a Mott and Bailey Castle. I think a lot of the Mott and Bailey castles were just a earthen bank with a wooden castle on top. Cheap and nasty, a bit like IKEA really. So that's all that remains of it anyway. I'll show you the reason why the castle's there. That's the view from there. Can you get a better view than that? And I can show you cycling up to Laughton on Morthern from various different angles. It's quite some, takes quite some doing. So that's the view. But like I said, if I'm not answering your comments, they're important, give me an email on tim.wells@hotmail.co.uk. and somebody's actually asked me whether I'll do a video on some of the steelworks in Sheffield, and I'm going to possibly pop back to Riverdon Works this weekend on the crossroads and do a video of that, and then I'll pop into Sheffield and see if there's anything interesting I can do in Sheffield. But that's it. So hope you enjoyed that quick tour around Laughton on Morthern. That's a good French name.